By law, they were required. By law. They were supposed to do this by law. They broke the law. The law doesn't fucking exist. The law doesn't fucking exist in America, everybody. Every single member of the government is a criminal. And we keep expecting the criminals to hold the other criminals accountable. When the fucking dictator in charge can ignore the courts, law doesn't exist. When every system of checks and balances we had fails because nobody's being held accountable, law doesn't exist. Stop screaming about what is legally required. Nobody fucking cares. The only way this stops is if the people listen to the Constitution and overthrow tyranny. Revolution! To every single...
I've been saying this for a long time, Chad. I've been saying this for a long time, is that laws only exist if you are willing to enforce it. And this is what has been lost, is that you and I don't have the institutions that are ready to enforce laws. They're not scared anymore. 70 years ago, if the elites started to do shit that everybody didn't like, we would go out on the street and we'd start wrecking shit. This is what happened. How do you think unions became big in this country? You think it was from us being nice? Let me talk about Bethlehem Steel.
History's headlines recalls
this is what it was like in 1941 in Pennsylvania when workers got pissed that they weren't getting paid enough.
Of 1941 at Bethlehem Steel.
It wasn't the first strike, and it wouldn't be the last, but it was memorable for many reasons.
And now Pathé News brings you the pictures of the actual riot at plant number 9. Here are strike sympathizers attempting to get at those inside the plant who fought sit-down strikers.
It got ugly in Michigan in 1936 and 37 when auto workers there went on strike against General Motors. The labor dispute made national headlines. Just a few years later, it would be Bethlehem Steel in the spotlight when workers there organized a strike of their own.
It began on March 24th. Of 1941. Almost from the first was a violent strike.
It was not the first strike at Bethlehem Steel Mills. Workers had walked out in 1910 and again in 1919. But by 1941, they were still asking for better working conditions, higher wages, and union representation. The Steelworkers Organizing Committee called the strike, and by 11 p.m. that first night, there were some 2,500 strikers, revelers, and women and children at the company's main gate.
The Bethlehem Police Force and the state police were called in to break up the strike. Some of them were very good about it, some of them were not.
The peaceful picket turned violent after tear gas was lobbed into the crowd. Cars were overturned, windows smashed. The governor declared a state of emergency in Bethlehem. State and federal mediators were brought in to help bridge the gap between the workers and Bethlehem Steel's CEO.
Eugene Grace realized that the best thing for him to do was to at least negotiate or begin the process of negotiation.
On March...
Now, why did they realize that, chat? It's because the steelworkers, your grandparents, were violent. That's the reality. That's the fucking reality. When they tear gassed them, they didn't go, oh God, tear gas. Everybody, guys, everybody, self-care, everybody take care of yourself. What happened in Bethlehem is they said, oh, you're tear gassing? Destroy everything. Destroy everything. Smash every window. Fight these motherfuckers. And then they were like, you know, maybe we should negotiate with this union. It's starting to get a little bit tough out here. That's why they were able to have the Great Compression and the good wages and wages rising with productivity, is because they were scared. And then they were like, you know, maybe we should raise the wages a bit. I don't want to die. Right now, does Elon Musk look like he's scared? Does Elon Musk look like he's scared of Tesla manufacturing workers showing up at his door? I don't think he does. Do the Ellisons look scared that they're going to censor TikTok? Do they look scared that they might piss off the wrong group of people? I don't think they are. The problem we have in America is that too many of you are, quite frankly, cucked. You were trained by propaganda that the civil rights movement was peaceful. You were trained by propaganda that, you know, if I just vote for Democrats, everything will work out. If I just vote for AOC, everything will work out. It's not that AOC is to blame. It's that you have disempowered yourself and you've put it on a politician, and then you sit there like judging history. You need AOC elected so that when you go on strike, you have somebody there to say you should negotiate with these guys. I don't have control of them. Violence is never the answer. Remember how people always say that? What do you think it was peaceful to go kidnap Maduro? Maduro failed because he was weak. I don't tell you the stories of American imperialism to tell you that the strategy that we should be pursuing is peaceful protest. I'm telling you that the United States of America has its power because it is violent. Open Presents, thank you so much for the 100 gifted subs. I appreciate you. You know that. I hope you know that. I just want to keep talking about what I'm saying without stopping to do Twitch shit. I had a debate with this guy, Sock Dunn Left, about how America's politics is an oligarchy because whether a policy are passed or not has no bearing on how popular it is. If a policy has 100% support of the American people, it passes about 30% of the time. If it has 0% of the American support of the American people, it passes 30% of the time. The only thing that matters is the opinion of economic elites. And the higher the opinion of the policy by the economic elites, the higher likelihood that it will be passed, nearing unanimous likelihood or 100% likelihood. If it is, if 90% of rich people support something, it passes like 80-some% of the time. This is an article from today. Supreme Court increasingly favors the rich. Economists say a new study found that the court's Republican appointees voted for the wealthier side in cases 70% of the time in 2022, up from 45% in 1953. Sorry, this is from a couple years ago. Oh, no, this is from today. Sorry, this is from today. I thought so. Okay. Supreme Court justices take two oaths. First, required of all federal officials, is to promise to support the Constitution. The second, a judicial oath, is more specific. It requires them, among other things, to do equal right to the poor and to the rich. A new study being released on Monday from economists at Yale and Columbia contends that the Supreme Court has recent decades fallen short of that vow. The study, called Ruling for the Rich, concludes that the wealthy have the wind at their backs before the justices, and that a good way to guess the outcome of a case is to follow the money. How many of you are okay with this? Now, personally, I gotta be honest with you, chat. I have been right about this for years, and it sucks because I know it's annoying to hear me say I've been right, but it's just so fucking annoying and frustrating to have said this shit for fucking years. And so, since I'm right about this, how about we listen to some of my solutions? You know what the peaceful, moderate solution is? Packing the Supreme Court by adding at least 5 new radical left-wing judges. That's the minimum. That's the most moderate position. That's the most reformist position. That's the minimum. Anything short of that is surrender. And I don't say that now, if you're sitting here and you're listening to me for the first time and you're like, wow, that's a pretty radical position, you're part of the problem. I want you to feel under attack because you haven't thought about this at all. You haven't studied at all. And you're uncomfortable because I said we should expand the Supreme Court, something that's happened 15 times in American history. Something that has happened. You know, there's been more judges than 9 Supreme Court judges, right? You know that 9 isn't the most we've ever had. We've had more than 9 judges before, or justices before. That's the funny part. What I'm describing is not even radical. And even things that have precedent, things that have been done before, liberals shy away from. How could you be about progress if you're afraid to do things that have already been done in our history? How are you so weak? How are you so pathetic? The answer is because they're not weak. They're strong in defense of the rich. In 1963, the U.S. Supreme Court was expanded to 10 justices. They used to have 1 justice for every circuit. We currently have 13 circuits and only 9 Supreme Court judges. Did I say 1963? Sorry, 1863. I misspoke. And I just bring this up because it's like, I have to have conversations with liberals. And I want you to understand that most of the time you're having a conversation with a liberal, they are not actually they're an automaton. Conservatives are not wrong. They're just automatons as well. They are not actually able to reckon with what you're saying. And I think this is part of the problem with social media noise. Is people are not actually making arguments that they are caring to listen to. They're not thinking through their positions. They're not developing their own positions. They're just copying what the party or group they identify with says. There are actually very few people in politics that even know how to form an opinion. And that's the thing that has tripped me up over the years. I think that most of the people I'm talking to are capable of forming their own opinions. They are not. They are playing a socially oriented game. And my autism has blocked me, or my self-diagnosed autism has blocked me from seeing that. They are only there to tell you what they've been told. The moment you start to ask people to think for themselves, they start to short fucking circuit.